The flashing blue lights caught Vanessa Brooks just as the last stretch of daylight disappeared behind the tree line. She eased her 80,000-pound tractor-trailer onto the narrow shoulder with the steady confidence of someone who had handled far worse than an unexpected traffic stop. The sealed trailer behind her contained cargo that had to arrive untouched, on time, and without unnecessary attention. Yet the two officers climbing out of the patrol car weren't looking at the trailer first. They were looking at her. One exchanged a knowing glance with the other before either spoke, as if the story had already been written in their minds. Vanessa rolled down her window, listening as the first sharp questions came without explanation. She answered each one calmly. Then, when the officers demanded access to the trailer, she reached into her wallet, removed a simple white credential card and said, "Before you make another mistake tonight, call the number on the back. Before we continue, make sure you stay until the end because every story has a moment where everything changes." If you enjoy powerful stories filled with unexpected twists, emotional lessons and hidden truths, subscribe and join us for more. Now, let's go back to the beginning and uncover what really happened. Vanessa Brooks had learned long ago that the road rewarded consistency, not ego. After 20 years behind the wheel of commercial trucks, she trusted preparation more than luck. Every trip began the same way, inspecting tires, checking brake lines, reviewing manifests, and making sure every seal, latch, and document matched exactly. Small mistakes became expensive ones when you hauled freight across several states. That morning had started before sunrise at a secure federal logistics facility. The trailer assigned to her wasn't unusual on the outside. It carried no special markings, no armed escort, and nothing that would attract attention from passing motorists. To anyone driving beside her, it looked like another freight shipment making its way across the country. Exactly as it was supposed to. Very few people knew the cargo was moving under federal supervision, and Vanessa intended to keep it that way. By early evening she entered a quiet rural town where traffic had nearly disappeared. Weathered storefronts lined the main road, and a single gas station cast long shadows across the pavement. She noticed a patrol cruiser parked near the highway entrance, but years of professional driving had taught her not to overthink ordinary things. She maintained the speed limit, stayed in her lane, and kept her attention fixed on the road ahead. A few seconds later, the cruiser's headlights pulled onto the highway. Then came the flashing red and blue lights. Vanessa glanced into her mirrors, switched on her indicator, and guided the massive truck safely onto the shoulder. As she watched two officers step confidently toward her cab, something about the way they looked at her told her this wasn't a stop they intended to end with a warning. Officer Derek Collins stopped beneath the driver's window and looked up without offering so much as a greeting. His partner, Officer Brian Haskins, remained a few steps behind, studying the truck as though he expected to find something suspicious before a single question had been answered. License, registration, and your CDL. Vanessa reached for the document folder beside her seat and handed everything down in one organized stack. Collins flipped through each page slowly. The paperwork was complete. Every permit matched. The electronic logbook was current. Even the inspection records were in order. Instead of ending the stop, his expression grew more skeptical. "This your truck? It's assigned to me through my carrier. You drive equipment like this every day?" "I do." His eyes drifted across the polished sleeper cab before settling back on her. "Must have landed yourself a pretty good deal." "I earned the position." There was no pride in her voice, only a simple statement of fact. Haskins stepped closer and took the shipping manifest from Collins. "What exactly are you hauling?" "The cargo description is listed on the manifest." "I'm asking you." "It's a federally monitored shipment traveling under sealed transport authorization." The answer earned an amused smile. "That's a fancy way of avoiding the question." "I'm answering the question as completely as I'm permitted." Collins let out a short laugh. "You know, people usually start talking like lawyers when they're hiding something." Vanessa rested both hands lightly on the steering wheel. "Everything you're asking is already documented." Collins closed the folder and handed it back. "I think I'd rather see what's inside that trailer." Vanessa's eyes met his. "I'm afraid that isn't something I can authorize." His jaw tightened. "You don't get to decide what I can inspect. I'm simply explaining the limits of my authority." For a brief moment, neither side spoke. Then Collins took a slow step toward the rear of the truck. "I guess we'll see whose authority matters more." Collins motioned toward the shoulder. "Step out of the truck." Vanessa climbed down carefully, placing each boot on the gravel before closing the cab door behind her. She kept her hands visible and waited without saying a word. The highway remained busy, cars rushing past only a few yards away, yet the three of them stood inside a strange pocket of silence. Haskins circled the trailer, running his flashlight along the heavy locking bars until the beams stopped on the intact federal security seal. "So this is what you're protecting." Collins walked to his patrol car and returned carrying a pry bar. He tapped it lightly against his leg. "Open it." "I can't." "You mean you won't?" "I mean the cargo doesn't belong to me. It isn't mine to authorize." Collins smiled without humor. "You've got an answer for everything. I have procedures I'm required to follow. And we're required to investigate suspicious activity." Vanessa nodded slightly. "I understand that. But breaking a federally secured cargo seal without proper authorization creates a much larger problem." Haskins laughed. "Listen to her. You'd think she works for Washington." Collins moved within arm's reach of the trailer. "Here's what's going to happen. You unlock it. If you refuse, I'll assume you've got something worth hiding." Vanessa remained composed. She had dealt with difficult inspections before. What troubled her wasn't the questions. It was the complete absence of interest in the answers. When Collins reached toward the locking mechanism, she finally spoke. "If you break that seal, you'll interfere with an active federal operation." Both officers exchanged a glance before laughing openly. Collins folded his arms. "And what exactly makes you think we're supposed to believe that?" Without rushing, Vanessa reached into the inside pocket of her jacket. Both officers reacted instantly. "Don't move." Collins barked, one hand dropping toward his holster. "My right hand is retrieving a credential card," Vanessa said evenly. "My left hand is staying where you can see it." She withdrew a plain white card. No photograph, no dramatic emblem, only a phone number and a short printed instruction. Holding it out toward Collins, she said quietly, "Before you make a decision you'll regret, call the number on the back." Collins looked at the card, then at Vanessa. A smirk spread across his face. "Fine. Let's see who's pretending to be important." He dialed the number on speaker. After only a few seconds, the voice on the other end answered. Collins' smile disappeared. He didn't interrupt. He didn't argue. He simply listened, and the color slowly drained from his face. Collins slowly lowered the phone from his ear, but his attention never left Vanessa. A minute earlier, he had been certain he was exposing a lie. Now he looked like a man trying to understand how the ground had shifted beneath his feet. Haskins frowned. "What did they say?" Collins didn't answer. He couldn't. In the distance, the faint sound of approaching sirens drifted across the open highway. Within moments, several vehicles appeared over the rise. A marked county sheriff's SUV led the convoy. Behind it came two black government-issued SUVs with discrete federal plates. A final vehicle followed close behind. The convoy stopped with practiced precision, surrounding the patrol car and the tractor-trailer without creating unnecessary chaos. Doors opened in quick succession as deputies secured the shoulder while several plainclothes officials walked directly toward Vanessa. The woman leading them carried herself with quiet authority. "Special Agent Brooks." She stopped in front of Vanessa. "Report." "Traffic stop initiated approximately 23 minutes ago," Vanessa replied. "Officers demanded access to the sealed trailer without legal authorization. The federal cargo seal remains intact." "Good." The supervisor gave a brief nod before turning toward Collins and Haskins. "I'm Supervisory Special Agent Rebecca Monroe with the Federal Bureau of Investigation." She held up her credentials. "Who ordered the search of this federally protected shipment?" Neither officer answered. The silence was answer enough. County Sheriff Alan Pierce stepped beside Monroe, his expression growing more serious as he noticed the untouched security seal. He looked at Collins. "Tell me exactly what happened." Collins cleared his throat. "We believed there were inconsistencies in her story." Monroe answered before Vanessa could. "There weren't any inconsistencies. There were assumptions." She opened a thin case folder. "For the last 18 months, Special Agent Vanessa Brooks has been working undercover as part of a joint federal investigation targeting an interstate cargo theft organization operating across multiple states." Haskins stared at Vanessa. "She's FBI." Vanessa finally spoke. "I've been exactly who I said I was from the beginning." Monroe closed the folder. "The shipment you attempted to search is controlled evidence within an active federal operation." A heavy silence settled over the roadside. Then Monroe looked toward another federal agent. "Secure both officers' body cameras. Download the dashcam recordings. Preserve every dispatch transmission." She turned back to Collins. "This traffic stop is now evidence." Once the immediate scene was secured, the investigation moved far beyond the shoulder of that quiet highway. Federal investigators worked alongside internal affairs, reviewing every second of body camera footage, dashcam recordings, dispatch audio, and written reports. What had started as a single complaint quickly exposed something far more troubling. Older citizen complaints, many that had once been dismissed for lack of proof, were pulled from storage and examined again. This time, investigators weren't relying on memory or conflicting statements. They had video, audio, timestamps, and first-hand testimony from federal personnel. Patterns began to emerge. Traffic stops involving minority drivers often followed the same sequence. Prolonged questioning, unnecessary escalation, requests for consent searches without clear justification, and repeated departures from department policy. Each file reinforced the next. The evidence painted a picture that could no longer be dismissed as coincidence or isolated mistakes. Within days, Officers Collins and Haskins were placed on administrative leave while the investigation continued. Prosecutors also began reviewing several of their previous arrests to determine whether constitutional violations had affected earlier cases. Standing quietly beside her truck after giving her final statement, Vanessa watched investigators finish documenting the scene. She didn't feel triumphant. She thought about the countless drivers who had been stopped before her. People who had no federal credentials to present, no supervisors rushing to the scene, and no operation important enough to guarantee every moment was recorded. That realization stayed with her far longer than the traffic stop itself. The investigation concluded several weeks later, but its impact reached far beyond one traffic stop on a quiet highway. After reviewing thousands of pages of reports, body camera recordings, dashcam footage, radio communications, and witness statements, Internal Affairs released its findings. Investigators concluded that Officers Derek Collins and Brian Haskins had violated multiple department policies during their encounter with Vanessa Brooks. More significantly, the evidence uncovered a pattern of conduct that stretched back years. Complaints that had once lacked sufficient proof suddenly carried new weight. Similar traffic stops, questionable searches, and allegations of racial profiling were re-examined, this time supported by objective evidence instead of conflicting recollections. Several previous cases were referred to prosecutors for independent legal review, while both officers were formally dismissed from the department. The police chief later announced new oversight measures, including expanded supervisory review, revised traffic stop procedures, and additional training focused on constitutional policing and professional conduct. The department acknowledged that public trust could only be rebuilt through accountability, not promises. Despite national attention, Vanessa never accepted invitations to celebrate the outcome. During a brief interview outside a federal field office, a reporter asked whether she felt justice had finally been served. Vanessa thought for a moment before answering. "I wasn't hoping to expose anyone," she said quietly. "I was hoping to stop this from happening to the next person." She explained that respect should never depend on someone's job title, race, or the badge they carried. Every person deserved to be treated fairly before assumptions shaped the encounter. A week later, before dawn broke over the interstate, Vanessa climbed back into another tractor trailer, completed her pre-trip inspection, and eased onto the highway. The road ahead looked no different than it had before. Neither did she. She simply kept driving, doing the work she had always believed mattered far more than the recognition that followed. Stories like Vanessa's remind us that real strength isn't always loud. Sometimes it's the quiet discipline to remain professional when others have already judged you, and the courage to let the truth speak louder than anger ever could. If this story gave you something to think about, share your thoughts in the comments. Do you believe accountability helps strengthen public trust? And what qualities do you think define true professionalism in positions of authority? If you enjoy original stories that explore justice, resilience, and ordinary people facing extraordinary moments, consider subscribing and joining us for future stories. Every road holds another untold journey, and sometimes the most powerful victories are the ones earned with calm determination rather than raised voices.